Welcome to the Partners Podcast, where you get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to entrepreneurs who are relentlessly building real, profitable companies. Join us as we ask them the hard questions so you can take away the mindset, strategy, and tactics that launch them to success.
Welcome to another episode of the Partners Podcast. I'm joined by my good friend here today, Josh Lyons, who is running one of the most amazing masterminds I've been a part of. You specialize in coaching closers and also business owners on leveling up their, not just sales, but their inner game. I think that's the most important thing that stood out for me about you, is that you're thinking, what is not just surface tactical strategy, but what is beneath all of that that's driving the success, the energy, the mindset, which is something that I really liked about you. So without further ado, Josh Lyons, tell me a little bit about what you got going on and what you're building right now.
I don't think I can do a better intro than your intro, but what have I got going on? So like you said, I train closers, I train business owners. I also come into businesses that have a sales team and optimize them. But like you said, it's an optimizing from the ground up. It's an inner transformation. Yeah, we do tactical. Yeah, we look at the offer, we look at pricing, we look like things like that. But more than anything, it's what are the true things that are going to make a pivotal difference in the production of the team. And the production of the team is much more about, are they organized mentally? Are they organized spiritually? Do they have alignment? Do they have clarity? Do they understand really what they're doing on a sales call, which is helping someone have an intervention in their life? And so all of the training is around taking the individual closers and giving them that opportunity to unlock more within themselves, which allows them to have more of an impact on the sales force.
Absolutely, and I've experienced that firsthand myself. Being part of your program for the last 2.5 months, I've had a transformation, and it really starts from within, understanding like what you really want out of your journey. And there's different seasons in life, and this season was really for me to develop my ability to lead as a CEO, as a founder of my own company, and also to level up my actual tactical sales skills, learning how to unsell, learning how to qualify, seek the truth. Those are all theories that I feel like a lot of people know, but they don't realize how important each one of those things are. So how did you, as Josh, come to be a full leader, of someone that others are willing to follow into war?
It's a great question. I think on one hand, there is the reputation. So I've trained Hormozi's sales team, I've trained 7th level sales team, Jeremy Miner's team, Matt Ryder's team, and I was a full-time closer. I think there's a lot of leaders out there, or we could call them gurus, that actually haven't really been to the place that they're coaching others to get to. I hit 100K a month in commission, and for a lot of people, that's kind of a almost a dream that feels unrealistic. And so not only did I hit it, but I then got asked to come in and train other people on the foundations that allowed me to hit that. So number one is your reputation. I think people see what I've done and think, shit, he's trained Hormozi's team, he's trained some of these big organizations, and he's been in the trenches and done it himself. The second thing, as far as how I became a leader, is that I had a mentor. I had my own mentor, still have that same mentor 4.5 years later. And he trained me on leadership, on mindset, on habits, on routines, on all of the things that make someone a leader. And so it's a great question, because there's some decent salespeople out there, but I wouldn't call them leaders. And you can be okay, middle of the road, with good tactics, with good skills, with good sales ability. But that's very different to being a leader. And so the way that my mentor taught me was from the inside out, how do I start to show up in my life as someone that is, the phrase that we've learned is called the benevolent alpha. So someone that's showing up in their life to serve, to help, to guide, but also there to lay down the line when someone is being their own worst enemy. And leadership is very much about that art and science between compassion and caring, but caring about the future version of someone that they can unlock and that they can be in their potential, not being too soft as a leader to say, yeah, I'll pat you on the back and where you're at is okay. You just stay there. We'll accept that that's your limit. And so I was taught how to be a leader from my mentor, and then I'm just really, taking the baton and passing it on to my students. So
yeah, that really resonates with me, because as I've grown in my organization and as I've added team members, it's so easy to orient towards being the cool boss, the nice guy. But sometimes you have to give that tough love, and there's that balance that's hard to juggle when you want to be liked, because that's why you got in the business. You want to create success so everyone likes you. And everyone's like, oh, you're the guy who has this business, you're successful, you got money, you got cars, you got houses, you got all the right friends. And then on the other end, you have to kind of have that Steve Jobs mentality and like Elon Musk like grit on like the expectations you have for your team and their potential. So how did you start off leading yourself? Like, I know there was a change when you first started like into this journey. Were you always an alpha male, or did you have like, I guess, beta tendencies and tendencies of kind of victimhood and all of that? So talk to me about like the person you were and then the person you've become, because I think a lot of our listeners can relate a lot better knowing that you weren't this superhero that was born, Batman overnight.
So how did I go through that transformation? Well, I really dialed in on, I want to make a lot of money. There's a story behind that. We won't get into it because it's a bit too long, but I was so focused on, I want to make a lot of money. I want to make a lot of commission. And I had the vehicle, I had the road in front of me. I was on an offer, I had leads, I was developing the skill set. So I had the opportunity. And as I was going through my days and going through my weeks and going through my months, I'd hit roadblocks. And my mentor would be overshadowing me and tell me that I'm hitting psychological roadblocks, I'm hitting spiritual roadblocks, I'm hitting energetic roadblocks. And it was a big mental shift for me to realize that it wasn't that I didn't ask a specific question on the call. It was, where was I coming from? What was my frame? Was I trying to judge the prospect, or was I trying to relate to the prospect? Was I trying to be too soft and not being willing to really dig in and hold the feet to the fire of the prospect? And so as I went through my sales journey, I had to change myself in order to be able to be a leader to the people on the phone. So some of the things I struggled with would be, I'd have a good call and I'd feel all excited. I'd get myself too excitable over the fact I've closed, I've taken a commission home, and I would turn up to my next call and I'd cut corners. I'd be lazy. I'd not really connect with the prospect because I'd feel like, well, I've just closed a deal. I don't really need to set myself and check in and take a moment to really dial back in. Another thing was that I would start to think that it's all a numbers game. Well, if I take more calls, then I'll make more money. What ends up happening is I got burnt out, and I realized actually I need to look at my values. I need to look at my schedule and think, okay, I might be able to take more calls, but what am I going to have to cut out of the other areas of my life? And so as a full-time sales professional, I realized that what happens on the phone is probably 20% of the result. 80% is what happens before the call, what happens after the call, what have you got going on in your head? Are you having a bad relationship? Are you struggling to understand your purpose in life, your mission in life? What's going on in the other areas of your life? And so it was just very simply, I had one clear goal, which was I want to make a lot of money. And as I went through that process as a closer, I had to transform from the inside out. I had to go through that process of mastery and really change my character. And so I was just like anyone else before I took my first phone call. I was, emotional. I would get too high or too low. I didn't really understand my routine, my schedule. I'd have shiny object syndrome. I'd wake up in the morning and think, oh yeah, I'll go to the cafe for 3 hours and read a book. And then as I got into closing, I was like, I can't do that anymore. I have to be more focused. I have to be more strategic. I have to become a new person if I ever want to hit these goals. And so what I do now with the mastermind, as you know, is I take people through that that, I guess you could call it that inner game, that inner transformation, that development of you and who you show up and who you be as a person, and the money follows. The money naturally follows. So.
Yeah. Something that really resonated with me when I was inside your program, and I feel like this is not something you share with anyone outside, is like you were dating someone. I think you were telling a story of before you got into sales,
Yeah.
and you were like a manager of sorts at a company. How did that transition happen that made you say, hey, I want to learn how to close, I want to learn how to sell at a very high level?
Number one, I never decided that I wanted to sell. And we've spoken about this in the mastermind. I think closing finds you, whether it's closing as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a full-time closer. I think sales, people end up in sales because they either think, oh, it's commission, I can make a lot of money, or the old saying is like, well, if you can't do anything else, just go and sell. I really distinguish selling from closing. And the difference to me is that selling is very robotic, it's very mechanical, it's very process driven. You have a bunch of leads. If you hit enough volume and you follow the script, you should make okay money. That's actually not true. You won't make much money doing that. Closing is about being able to have an intervention with someone, have a real heart to heart, and have the skill set to back up your ability to move someone from where they're at and help them get to where they want to go. So it's a very different thing. But I was working a normal 9-to-5. I was a marketing manager and I hated it. I was bored. I felt like I'm not realizing my potential. I'm, just doing the same thing every day. I'm not making much money and I just didn't feel aligned. I just felt like I'm just going from one job to the next job. I was making like $2,000 a month. It's not even that long ago. We're not talking 10 years ago. It's like 5 years ago. And in that role, whilst I was doing that, I didn't know where I was supposed to go in my career, but I was always reading. I was always doing courses. I was always trying different things. I was trying a side business here, a side business there. None of them ever really took off, but I knew that I had to keep exploring. I had to keep growing. I had to keep learning. And where it really sort of went parabolic as far as things just changed and went upside down, I was on a bit of a roller coaster, was I got into a company that my mentor was one of the 3 founders, and I was just doing customer support. And the reason I did that on the side of my full-time job is I felt like I need to get into something online. I'm not sure what, not sure how, but I have to do something where I could at least work remotely. If I get in and do some online customer support, I'll see where it goes. The second thing was that these founders were really cool people. And there's a lesson and a golden nugget in that, is that if you get around cool people, that is usually a good stepping stone to cool opportunities and good things happening. If you're around people that might look successful on the outside, but you just don't get a vibe that they are cool and that they're interesting people holistically, usually you end up hitting a bit of a dead end. So anyway, going back to the story. So I was in that job doing customer support probably like 5 hours a week. And as you know, I went on a date with a girl that I met online and flew over to London, and she'd flown over from Dubai, and we spent a weekend together. Had a great time. She was really cool, very attractive, very interesting. There was a lot of chemistry, and I didn't know her background. I just thought, she's cool. We met online, we'll go from there. And we had our weekend together, and at the end of the weekend, she threw me this very unexpected curveball question, which is, how much money do you make? And I thought, I don't know the relevance of that.
Yeah,
but
I'd be like, gold digger?
Yeah, I was like, well, hang on, have I missed something here? Did I not read the signs? Yeah. And she was very forthcoming and very honest, and she said, listen, I come from a very, very, very well-off family in Dubai. I don't need you to be a millionaire today, but I need to get a read of where you're at and where you're going to end up so that we may have longer term compatibility. I thought, okay, so I told her how much I made, and she kind of had a dramatic pause when I said it, and then she followed up with, okay, well, at least what's your plan to make more money? And that was where I realized I haven't been proactive in setting myself up in the right way, because not only do I not make any money, but I actually haven't committed to specific steps, like tangible action steps that are going to move me forward. I was reading books and I was doing courses, but I didn't actually have an idea of where the rubber meets the road of action to make me more money and put money in my pocket. And I said, well, I don't have a plan. I didn't even realize I had a problem, let alone a plan. I didn't even realize, me not having more than $25,000 a year was a big problem. And she said, well, I come from this rich family and I don't expect you to be a millionaire, but at the very least, if and how somehow we had a long-term relationship, she said, I want a good lifestyle. I want a nice house. I want private school for my kids. I want them to be able to go on life experiences. And as she started saying these things, I kind of felt selfish. I was like, shit, like that's all reasonable things for a girl or a guy to want from their partner. I haven't even taken the ownership or the responsibility to figure out how I'm either gonna enable that for a partner or actually rob a potential future partner of having that lifestyle. And she said, listen, I'm okay that you don't make a lot of money, but I'm not okay that you don't have a plan. She said, the reason why is that I had a boyfriend in the past who also was more normal as far as income, and he ended up getting himself into debt to try and keep up with my lifestyle. And she said, I promised that I'd never put another guy in that situation. So if you don't have a lot of money right now, okay. But if you also don't have a plan, the final words that came out of her mouth were, girls like me just don't date guys like you. And I was like, okay, well, that kind of stopped me for a moment. And being a guy, having an ego at the time, which is what you said, who was I back then? I mean, I've still got an ego, but it's definitely something I've gone through the journey to tame and to manage and to wrestle with and to understand. I flew back home, called up my best mate, said, hey, let's go for a walk. I've got something to tell you. Went for a walk. The expletive words that came out of my mouth describing that woman, I won't repeat on camera, but it was something to the effect of, what a gold digger, what an asshole, terrible person, she's just wanting money, blah, blah, blah. And he was a good friend and he just let me vent and not really say much more about it. And 48 hours went by and I was meditating on what had happened. And I was really thinking about it. And I thought, you know what? Why should she lower her future standards? Because I'm not committed to raising mine. And I thought, and one of the things that I said prior to my friend was like, oh, well, she could have a rich guy with a jet, but he's probably an asshole. He's probably not that funny. He's probably not that cool. And I was rationalizing. I was justifying why my lack of commitment to where I needed to go was her problem and that she's a bad person. Going back to the 48 hours later, I thought, you know what? There's probably rich guys out there that are also nice guys, that are also funny, that are cool, that are just genuinely decent people, and they're rich, and they can give this gal the lifestyle that she wants. And so I said, you know what? I'm gonna get rich as fuck. Like, not so I could win the girl back, but so that at least I never had to find myself in a situation where what I wanted was taken away from me because I wasn't leveled up enough to deserve it, to even be able to maintain, she was cool, she was attractive, she was nice, we had chemistry. The only thing was I didn't have a plan to make more money. So I said that, and then the universe being the universe, the next day I get a phone call from the boss at the company I'm doing customer support for, and he basically says, hey, you've done really well. We have an opportunity for you to learn some other stuff, coaching and sales. Do you want to do that? And I was like, man, that's really crazy that I never figured out how I was going to get there. But what I know now is that the universe, and I talk a lot about this in the mastermind, will bring you what you need if you are committed to capitalizing on the opportunity. And I remember the words that went through my head the day before was, I am going to get rich. Not, I'll try, I'll think about it, I might, it would be cool if. It was like, I'm going to do this. And the moment I made that decision and that commitment, I get the phone call the next day. Cut a long story short, that's how I met my mentor. That's how I got my first opportunity to learn closing. And yeah, that's the story.
Yeah, life is serendipitous like that.
Very.
It's pretty cool. And I kind of met you like that, just stumbling across Instagram, and I was kind of doom scrolling, and I was just like, oh, who's this guy? And it was like one of the coaches, I think you work for, the dating coach, Daniel, is it?
Yep.
And then I clicked on his story and I saw you, and I was like, who's this good-looking guy? He's probably full of himself, because like that's what, if when you have an ego, when someone else has something you don't, you're immediately trying to justify it and say, hey, maybe they don't have this, they don't have that, when in fact they could be that rich guy who's cool, that has everything, that also's got the wisdom, the experience, everything that you would want to actualize your full potential. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool to hear you talk about the concept of like ego, because it's something that never truly leaves us. Like as a human being, without ego, like I think we wouldn't exist either, right? Mm-hmm. Like you have to have some level of ego, and you have to kind of cultivate it in a way where it can still benefit you and serve you in your journey to become enlightened, right? And it's almost like a dichotomy or whatever they call it. Like the minute you think you're enlightened, you fall all the way back down. Correct. Right? And if you don't stay humble, and that's why I'm always looking to be a student, always striving to be a better teacher in the process as well. Another cool concept that everything that you said reminds me of is, why not become a millionaire? And some people are like, well, I don't want to, right? And like that's not for me. I don't care about money. And I forget who it was, but it was on a reel I saw, and it was just like, for the man you will become in that process. And that's a beautiful thing, and I think that's why everyone should strive to be the best at whatever they're focused on. And I saw that within you, that you are someone who was solely focused on leveling up as a closer, and then in the process you've become so much more. So talk to me about ego and how it can aid us and how it can hurt us in the process of our journey.
Like you said, it's not ego that is necessarily the problem. Is your ego using you, or are you using ego? So if you know that a burning desire to want something, let's say materialistic, as you said, is going to dial you in, so that then you go on a journey to upskill, to get more focus, to focus on cutting out bad things, doing more good things. If you use that as like the horse that you rein yourself to pull you forward, there's no problem with it. But the problem is when people use their ego to make bad decisions, to justify, to rationalize, to make excuses. And so I don't think it's necessarily ego's good or bad. I think it's you having the intuition, the honesty, and the awareness of who's running the show. Is it your ego, or is it, the higher version of yourself?
Yeah, that's beautiful, because it also reminds me of that saying, like, money is not evil or good or bad. Money just amplifies who you are. 100%. And that's the same thing with ego. Like, are you going to use it for good and to use it to build upon the life and purpose you're looking to create, or are you going to use it to justify and rationalize and all these bullshit things that people do to prevent them from achieving their true potential, which I remember, I think it was Daniel or Joao in our mastermind, he said I was listening to the Launchpad materials, and one of the answers was like when I go to heaven, or when you die, you meet the person you could have become. Yes. Right. And that really, that hits hard when you know that you have potential, but you live a life and you justify every reason not to achieve that, and you're like, well, this is happening to me, and et cetera, et cetera. So
the biggest thing for that as well with reaching potential is having a mentor, because you will always have a part of you that doesn't want to face the cold hard truth of your excuses, your bullshit, as you say. And so I have had a mentor for years now, just like I now am the mentor for you guys in a sales capacity. And one of the first things that you see inside the mastermind is, can you handle being called out? And I got ripped to shreds every day by the underground mentor. And people don't realize that it's not sunshine and rainbows to unlock your potential, and to know, as you said, that when you get to the end of your life, you can look in the mirror and say, I unlocked every part of me that was dormant inside of me through this passage of life, through this journey. That unlock doesn't happen by, bathing on a sun lounger. It's by someone saying, dude, you're failing. You're not doing the right things, or you're doing the wrong things, or you're not where you want to be, and it's 100% your fault. And those critiquing conversations are not comfortable. But as we talk about in the mastermind, if you want to be comfortable, you will feel very uncomfortable at the end of your life when you never excelled. You did okay, maybe, but you have to weigh up those consequences and see which is, more painful for you. The other thing you said that I want to circle back on is when someone says, I don't want to be a millionaire. And one of the early trainings that the underground mentor taught me is, that's very selfish to say, I don't want to be a millionaire. And the responses that he gave to me were, well, would your mum benefit from you being a millionaire? Would your sister? Would your peer group? Would your neighbors? Would the people that you can do charitable work for? And so when someone says, I don't want to be a millionaire, it's like, yeah, but that's just me. It's very, very selfish. Like, it's irresponsible, selfish, and quite destructive to the potentiality of what can be manifest in the world for you to not reach your potential. You're literally, it's like the old adage of like, who's worse, or is there a difference between the bully and the innocent bystander of the bully? It's like, if you watch someone be bullied and you don't step in, the argument is, well, you're no better than the bully. And so when someone says, I don't want to be a millionaire, it's like, well, yeah, but you literally have potential inside of you to move the world forward, to improve people's lives. And because you can't be fucked to put your time and effort and attention into it, everyone else suffers. You're just the innocent bystander that's actually not so innocent.
Yeah, and it really sucks to see all of the things on internet of like people achieving their potential, and you're just scrolling through, and thinking that, oh, well, that's because they got lucky, or that's because, they were born rich, or that's because, no, like most of the people that are successful put in the fucking work. And that's why whenever I meet someone successful, I always, and success isn't necessarily defined just by money, because I've actually met a lot of people I've learned from who were very successful in other ways, whether it's health and fitness, or just their happiness level and how they approach life with so much gratitude. Because money is just one aspect, but for what becoming a millionaire will help you become, I think it's a beautiful concept. Yeah. So when it comes to your mastermind, what are you looking to build right now? Like, what is this mission and vision that you have for, you have two masterminds. One is your B2B offer, Lyons Closing, and the other one is your inner circle type, like students, the Unicorn Closer Mastermind. Yeah. What is the vision behind each one of those companies?
So with the B2B offer, again, talking about responsibility, I think there is a lot of high ticket offer owners and service providers out there that have a world-class offer, but they're not getting that offer to be closed, whether it's their sales team or the structure of the offer. And so I really feel like I'm the vehicle to help very, very good entrepreneurs and offer creators, business owners, to make sure that that offer gets to as many people as possible so that they can have that impact, but also so that the business owner or the entrepreneur actually takes home the cash that they deserve. So I work with business owners that have a world-class offer that's genuinely changing people's lives, and yet they feel like the sales department could be performing at a much higher level. They're getting leads, they've got qualified leads, enough leads, but those leads aren't turning into enrollments at the level that they truly could be and should be. there's a lot of things that happen inside of that. It can be the design of the pitch, can be the design of the sales process, can be the closer's tactical ability, can be the closer's internal ability and their sort of status internally. I come in and I have a very specific process that is the same one I took Hormozi's gym launch team through in order to take them to their highest close rates in over a year. And I first do a very deep dive into the business to figure out, based on those things that move the ball forward and really move the needle forward, what is the biggest thing to start with. And I have that list and I work one by one through the list in the order based on my expertise. So sometimes I'll start with the offer. I'll start with the pitch and the presentation of the offer. Sometimes I'll look at that and think it's okay, but the biggest thing is the closers are lost. They have no direction. They don't have goals. They don't have values. And because of that, they're showing up to their calls with people that are crying out for help, prospects, and they're not able to connect with them because they themselves as closers just aren't centered. So I'll look at that list and do a big deep dive and then come in and take the offer to where it truly could be and should be. As an example, I've had offers that I've doubled in 60 days. Just meeting the sales team once a week and really diving into where the obvious money leaks are in the offer and the structure of it and the sales process. So that's the B2B. In the Unicorn Closer Mastermind, that's a different beast. So if there is a closer, a salesperson that is truly committed to the long-term journey of mastery as a closer and as a human being, this is the only place where you will get that holistic transformation, because the other, let's call them sales trainings out there, are either very mechanical, hey, we're going to teach you how to read from a script, or they're from people, as you said, that may have been successful-ish financially, but they actually haven't integrated that in the other areas of their life, how to communicate in a high-value way, how to run their life in a way that they truly live life on their terms. And so the Unicorn Mastermind is a very private group of very special people that have decided that that's the journey they want to commit to. They want to have a bare minimum standard of committing to a level of excellence that most people can't handle. And I am honored and blessed to be the mentor that's passing on what I learned from my mentor to holistically evolve as a human being and as a result as a closer.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it's been definitely a beautiful adventure so far. Yeah. Just seeing my peers in the mastermind grow, double their commission in 2 months. Yeah. It's just like going from 10 to 20, literally changing their entire future all in 2 months. And that's exactly the role I think a mentor can play into facilitating that growth, because I think a mentor is someone, right, who sees the potential in someone. Yes. And I think you're a no bullshit type of guy. It's not easy to bullshit you. You call me out immediately when you see me order pizza. I know we're going 3 hours into the mastermind and I'm like, fuck it, let's get some pizza. And then you're like, what the fuck is this? I thought you were trying to prioritize your health goals. So I love that about you. 2 things, right? One is the world-class offer. Would you take non-world-class offers on your B2B offering? What makes a world-class offer? So we'll start with that. And then my second question, just so we don't forget, is, the people that you let into your mastermind, what are the values and principles driving who gets to come in and who gets to stay?
Yeah. No, I would never take an offer that's not world-class, but world-class doesn't mean that they're bringing in millions of dollars a month. World-class means that they have something different as far as a vehicle or a solution to offer the world. So if I see something and I think this solution is the same as 5 different offers that I've seen that do the exact same thing, but you have an orange logo and they have a blue logo. That, and I'll give you an example, like Airbnb arbitrage. Like there's 30 offers that I know off the top of my head that do the exact same thing. So if I were to take on an Airbnb arbitrage offer, I want to know, why is this the absolute best one that someone should enroll into as opposed to the other 29. Now, that can be something from the business owner has a level of integrity and care about their students that the other 29 don't. That could be the differentiator that makes it the world-class offer in its sub-niche. It could be that they have a service or a solution that does the same thing, arbitrages Airbnb, but it does it in a way that's quicker, easier. I wouldn't say cheaper is ever one that I look for, but the solution itself, the offer owner or the team that the offer owner has built around them have been able to make the solution significantly better than all of the other competitors. So world-class doesn't mean that they're making, as you said, a ton of money necessarily. But if someone comes to me as a service provider and says, I want you to do what you did for Hormozi's team to my team, and I take a very quick 15-minute intro call and they have no lead flow, I'm like, well, you don't need me. You have a lead flow issue. Like you can't get traffic. There could be reasons for that. The offer owner is not integrous or he's not able to generate attention. But I look at the offer and think, is this something that I need to? I had an ethical duty and a responsibility to blow up as far as the acceleration of it reaching people. And that's what I look for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's spot on. And I love how clear you are about that.
Yeah.
And that, you know, it isn't about money. There's so many layers of what makes a world-class offer in terms of like the benefits outside of, you know, price and the care that someone puts in. You know, that's something that I feel like has resonated with me a lot, is that I have some students that they trusted me with their money and their limited resources, you know, especially when they're looking for help with helping them transform their business. And I might have not helped them reach where they could be or they should be. And it's not never 100% on me, you know, half the battle is showing up on their end, right? So even then, I still let them stick on if they can show me that for the right reasons, I should let them stay on, even if they can't afford to pay me, just so they can see that success. Because I'm more interested in building that long-term relationship than just getting that quick buck and, you know, hurting my reputation for being that guy who's like, he just wants your fucking money, you know? So what about the unicorn closer mastermind cohort? Who can get in and who can stay in?
Who can stay in? Who can stay in is someone that their actions correlate to their words in a very simple way. If they say they want to achieve X and their actions are not aligned, they will be called out. And if that behavior and that incongruence continues, it will be like, we're giving you the training, the tools, the mentorship, the community, the guidance, but you're just not doing what you need to do. You're not being the person that you need to be. They will be kicked out. There's no refund. There's no, I'm sorry, give me another chance, because the standard that we set for the people there is they all are, it's like if you've ever seen in the Navy SEALs during the training, one of the things they do is they line up all the Navy SEALs to go into the water, and they have to lock arm in arm, and they have to go out into the stormy sea. It's cold, it's uncomfortable, they got all their kit on, and if one person breaks the chain, everybody has to suffer, everybody is punished. And so the principle is like that if one person breaks the chain, it's not acceptable for me, and it's not acceptable for the others that are going to say, hey, you're holding us back, you're not showing up the way you should. There's the door, basically. Who can get in? The distinction is not what do they want to have, what do they want to learn, but who do they want to be. So if someone comes to me and says, I want to learn objection handling, I'll be like, you're probably not a fit. If someone comes to me and says, I want to learn what specific question I should ask in this case with this type of personality prospect, or they say, I want to make $30,000 instead of 20. I'll ask them, but why? Why do you want to learn that? And if they just give me a tangible reason, that's not spiritual. It's not a journey of mastery and a commitment to, because I want to be the best person I can, I want to become the best person I can, they will just get eaten alive in this mastermind, because the level of excellence that we demand, you're only going to be able to accept that bar if you're on a very deep journey. If you truly want to become someone and realize everything that you had inside of you, you will be able to sustain the standards that we expect. But if you're just there to go from 20K to 30, when we start calling you out for being a little bitch, you will cry and you will not be able to handle it. But when you have a commitment to, I need to become this person, and you realize that we're calling you out for your bad behavior, your emotional irritability, your lack of serving the prospect on the phone, and all of the other things, you will realize that it's because you've said that you want to become the best version of you. So it's a combination of, we don't want anyone to come in that's going to be an anchor holding everybody else back, but also I have no interest in bringing someone into the mastermind that won't be able to handle it and will just not have success. It's like, I'll bring you in if I know you're going to have success. I know what goes on behind closed doors. You will feel uncomfortable, and if that's going to be too much for you to handle, let's just not even get started and you go and join, someone's how to read a script program. So
yeah, totally makes sense. So I appreciate you taking the time to share just the wealth of knowledge, and also to set some standards. For those who don't know Josh, I hope that they walk away from this podcast, if they've gone this far and they've done their research, right? If they're considering working with you, knowing what level of standards and excellence that you hold throughout your organizations, throughout people that pay you money. You don't want money if it's not for the right reasons.
100%.
Like, can you tell me one example of someone trying to give you money and you turned down that money even though it was pretty good, and you were just like, no, that's not for me?
So I had a client I fired recently. So they were already giving me a decent amount of money every single month. And I turned up to their organization on the first day I met the closers, and I said, guys, you know why I'm here is to make this business make more money and to close more deals. But I want you to realize that the way I'm going to do that is I want each of you to take home more money to your family, to your friends, to your loved one, in your bank, to do the things you want. And if I individually work on the foundations of you as individuals, the business will naturally make more money. So I built a relationship, as I do with all of my B2B clients, closers in their team, and they were always coming to me wanting to grow, wanting to learn. And then I got a message after about 30 days from one of the closers saying, I enrolled this person into the program. They haven't got what they paid for. Like, the fulfillment has not done what we promised. And they said, I feel really uncomfortable, because they were now on this journey of integrity and mastery and commitment. And the business was now the thing that was tethering them to bad practice, malpractice, bad standards. And I spoke to the business owner, and he completely shirked the question, like gave this like weird, avoiding response. And I monitored it for a couple of weeks, and I saw this same pattern happen, and I realized this business owner may be putting a lot of money into my pocket because they've got an offer that I'm growing month to month to month, but it's not worth it. Like, this has now gone from, as I said, a world-class offer that needs to be out there and closers that are committed to a journey of excellence, to literally a black mark on the planet because people are trusting this business and paying money. The closers are now tethered from reaching their potential, and the clients are now having a bad experience and should have actually gone and given their money somewhere else. And so I fired that client. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter the money. It's like there's more than enough money out there.
Yeah.
And that money should be, as you said, used, not abused.
Yeah.
So.
And there's so much like backlash that could happen to reputation, to hurt people more than anything, right?
Yeah.
And then to just associating yourself with the wrong people, because there's a lot of shady people out there making billions of dollars. We all have seen, like, FTX and stuff that I've gotten caught up with, and I got lucky, obviously, compared to most people, because some people lost their entire life savings. And I love that about you, and that's another thing that resonated with signing up to be part of your inner circle, your mastermind, is that the integrity is there and the standards are there. And so I'd love to wrap this up with one more ask. If you could leave the world with one lesson for the future generations, for your future children, what would that lesson be?
Don't settle. In your life, don't settle. You can be so much more, and the biggest thing that will hinder you is that you're willing to settle. Don't settle for marrying a guy or a girl that you think, well, this will do, something's better than nothing. Don't settle for a profession that you think, well, this is safe, this is comfortable. Don't settle for a level of health and well-being that you think, well, I'm not obese and I'm not fat, so this will do. Like, just don't settle. If you know that you can be more, and you can, in wherever you are in life, you can be more, just don't settle.
I love that. I think that aligns perfectly with what you're hoping to do with your companies and the people that you serve. So thanks so much for
It's my pleasure, man.
joining.
It's my pleasure.